Can the CFMOTO 450 be converted to a 550 cubic centimeters displacement? I'm going to give you guys an update in this video. This is the crankcase of a 450 SR. You need to keep the engine numbers matching. So if you swap out the entire engine block, what are you going to do about the number? Right now, what's installed on here is the 550 crankshaft. Looking at it like this, it can be bolted straight on. But the connecting rod journal diameter on the 550 is different from the 450. Therefore, you must use the connecting rods from the 550 as well. The problem now is, the stroke of the 550 is longer than that of the 450. If the center-to-center distance between the big and small ends of its rod is the same length as the 450, then during installation, the piston will protrude past the deck surface. If the center-to-center distance happens to be shorter, and specifically shorter by exactly 1.5 millimeters, then it would be much easier. Next, regarding the gear on the balancer shaft, it's exactly the same as the 450. And for the clutch drive gear, I've counted the teeth. It's also identical to the 450. So, later on, if the 550 clutch can't be installed, we can continue to use the 450 clutch. Because the friction surface area of the clutch plates is different. The 450 ones are a bit smaller, so we'll probably need to install heavy-duty clutch springs. But if the clutch basket fits straight on too, it makes things a lot more convenient. Since the cranks on the 550 and 450 are different, we need to spin it to see if the crank hits the crankcase. Because when we previously converted a CFMOTO 650 to a 700, the crankshaft would hit the case. Looking at it now, it doesn't hit at all. Let's install a connecting rod. Then close up the case to keep testing. With the rod installed, we'll check the piston height in a bit. As for this balancer shaft, if you want to swap it for the 550 balancer shaft, you can. It can also be bolted straight on. I've tried it all. When putting the crankcase halves together, I'm just putting in 2 bolts for now. We just need to verify if the mod is doable. It rotates smoothly without hitting the case, so we can proceed. Next step. Regarding the head gasket, I mentioned it in the last video. It is identical, except for the head gasket itself. Its bore diameter is different. So for this part, we can just use everything from the 550. Alright, let's put the piston on. For the piston, we are also using the 550 piston. Next, let's slide the cylinder block on. Everything here can be installed directly. Once it's on, let's spin the crankshaft a couple of times to test it out. Check the piston at top dead center, TDC. Oh man, this is an incredibly perfect fit. It's absolutely flawless. Look here, guys. Everything bolts right up with zero modifications. Before this, I was worried the cylinder bore spacing might be different, but from what we see now, it's identical. Now let's slap the 550 cylinder head on there. It's definitely going to be a perfect direct fit. So looking at it this way, upgrading the 450 to a 550 uses entirely OEM factory parts. And these valves, along with the valve springs, have all been reinforced. However, there is one drawback. This is a CLC engine. It focuses on low to mid-range power delivery. Therefore, if you do the conversion using the 450 CLC kit, it's more suitable for the MT, the NK, and the CLC. Just wait and see. Once the 550 SR comes out, the camshaft profile will definitely have to be redesigned to shift its power band more toward the high RPMs. When the time comes, all you'll need to do is swap the camshaft, since its intake valves and airflow capacity are already larger anyway. So if you are a 450 SR owner wanting to do this mod, hold off for just a bit, unless you just want to build a street bike to mess around with. Furthermore, while the hardware is easy to mod, the ECU needs to be modified as well. You'll have to find someone to flash the ECU. With all this effort, labor costs, parts costs, Well, parts costs aren't actually too bad. Parts are way cheaper now than they used to be. They overhauled their after-sales service last year, right? Now a lot of engine parts are even cheaper than motors. So with all this trouble, do you guys think it's worth it? Let me know in the comments section. Also, regarding the clutch basket, while I was rebuilding this 450 SR, I test fitted it for you guys too. The basket is also a direct drop-in fit. Let's look at the difference between those clutch baskets. The one I'm holding right now is the 451. Overall, it's just a size smaller than this 550 clutch basket. But the gear on the back is exactly the same. So it can go straight on. You guys can see the difference, right? However, there's one catch: the clutch cover must be swapped out for the 551, otherwise, it will rub against the 450 clutch cover. The 550 clutch cover is deeper. Alright. To sum it all up, the internals of the 550 can be directly transplanted into the 450 SR crankcase. To turn it into a 550,